The Gaza Strip, a sliver of land wedged between Israel and the Mediterranean Sea, stands as a constant reminder of the complexities of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. A recent ceasefire agreement, brokered by Egypt and Qatar, offered a glimmer of hope, a chance to pause the seemingly endless cycle of violence and bloodshed. Signed on January 20th, 2025, the agreement promised a reprieve, a moment to breathe and rebuild. Yet even as the ink dried, the fragility of peace was apparent. The ceasefire, in its essence, was a trade-off, a delicate balancing act aimed at easing tensions. Israel, in exchange for the release of its citizens held captive, agreed to a cessation of hostilities and a gradual easing of the blockade that has crippled Gaza for over a decade. For the people of Gaza, the agreement offered a lifeline, a chance to rebuild their shattered lives and dream, however cautiously, of a future free from the specter of war. However, the path to peace is often paved with broken promises and renewed violence. The ceasefire, hailed as a breakthrough, now teeters on the brink, threatened by mistrust, accusations, and the looming shadow of past failures. The stakes are high, for both Israelis and Palestinians, but perhaps even more so for the international community, whose credibility as a mediator and guarantor of peace is being tested yet again. The world watches, holding its breath, hoping against hope that this time peace might just prevail. At the heart of the ceasefire drama stands Hamas, the Islamist militant group that governs the Gaza Strip. Designated a terrorist organization by Israel, the United States, and the European Union, Hamas's very involvement in the ceasefire agreement was a point of contention. Yet there they were, thrust onto the center stage of international diplomacy, their actions and words scrutinized by a world eager for any sign of progress. Hamas's commitment to the ceasefire, at least publicly, has been unwavering. Their spokesperson, in measured tones, declared their adherence to the terms of the agreement, emphasizing their desire for a lasting peace. However, their words are often met with skepticism, seen as a tactical maneuver, rather than a genuine desire for reconciliation. Hamas, after all, is an organization born out of resistance, their identity intertwined with the struggle against Israeli occupation. To their supporters, they are freedom fighters, resisting what they see as an illegal and oppressive force. To their detractors, they are terrorists, responsible for countless attacks against Israeli civilians. This duality, this inherent contradiction, makes Hamas both a potential partner for peace and a significant obstacle to its realization. The fragile truce, barely a month old, faced its first major test when Hamas announced the suspension of the planned release of 3 Israeli hostages. The reason? Accusations that Israel had violated the terms of the ceasefire. Hamas claimed that Israel had failed to fulfill its commitments, specifically the easing of restrictions on the movement of goods and people in and out of Gaza. Israel, in turn, vehemently denied the accusations, asserting their full compliance with the agreement. They pointed to the withdrawal of their troops from the Netzarim corridor, a key Hamas demand, as proof of their commitment to the ceasefire. The blame game had begun, each side accusing the other of bad faith, casting a dark shadow of mistrust over the entire peace process. Adding fuel to the fire were the pronouncements of President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. Trump, known for his unpredictable pronouncements, threatened to withhold aid from Jordan and Egypt if they did not pressure Hamas into releasing the hostages. Netanyahu, facing domestic pressure, warned of dire consequences if the hostages were not returned, hinting at a possible resumption of military action. Their words, instead of calming the waters, only served to escalate tensions, pushing the region closer to the precipice of renewed conflict. As tensions flared, the international community sprang into action, desperate to salvage the crumbling ceasefire. Egypt and Qatar, the architects of the agreement, intensified their diplomatic efforts, shuttling between the two sides, urging restraint and dialogue. The United Nations, through its various agencies, called for calm and reiterated the importance of upholding the ceasefire agreement. The focus, they stressed, should be on addressing the root causes of the conflict, not on scoring political points or resorting to threats and ultimatums. The international community, they argued, had a moral obligation to alleviate the suffering of the Palestinian people, to ensure that humanitarian aid reached those in need, and to work towards a just and lasting solution. Yet, even as diplomats scrambled, a sense of unease prevailed. President Trump's pronouncements, particularly his vision for Gaza as a real estate development, were met with widespread criticism. His words, seen as a departure from the long-standing international consensus on a two-state solution, only served to further complicate an already intractable conflict. The ceasefire, once a beacon of hope, now flickers precariously, its fate hanging in the balance. The world waits, watches and prays, for the guns to remain silent, for diplomacy to triumph, and for peace, however elusive, to finally find a foothold in this troubled land.